Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. How are you? How are you? Welcome back to another edition of the Teacher Project 2.0 with your host, Really B, with your co host, Really B, and your other co host, Dr. L. Teddy 27. How are you today, sir?
I am well. I
Are
am
we
well.
well? We are well.
We are well. We are well.
I am well as well. Had a day off work today, so I'm kind of enjoying my day off. And we are a month away. For me at least. The countdown is on, honey. My last day of school is June the 15th, honey. June the 15th. So the countdown, y'all know, any educator know what that countdown is.
Mhm.
We know the countdown, baby. And I
Baby.
usually I usually don't start countdown till like after spring break is when I count down. I'm not one of those teachers that counts down the whole school year. I go
Mm-mm.
through my school
Listen,
year.
it's
I take
always
it.
after spring break. It's
Yeah,
the
for me
after
it's
spring
spring
break.
break. Hey, proverbial one, we gotta have you back on here one day. And see how you and see how your year has been going. Your last day is May 21st. Oh, you really in countdown mood. Dad says his is June 4th. Yeah, y'all are really on countdown. I got a month, so I'm afraid, but we go back after Labor Day, so I'm sure it's it's connected to the amount of when
Yeah.
y'all are back. So because it's 180 days, 180 days. So but we are here. Maybe we can have an end of the year celebration and invite all of our educators up here for us to just kind of have a end of the year celebration or something. But um, we're going to talk about a few things today. The first thing we want to get into is sort of I don't want to call it old business. Y'all are protesting Monday for what, Des? I've heard about different teachers protesting about the school year starting earlier or being forced to go back to work in the summer. Let me know what y'all are protesting about. Because you're in a state that doesn't, y'all don't have a union, do y'all? Do y'all have a union in your state, Des? Yeah, I want to, yeah, John, tell us what well, you said I'm so ready for May 27th. You hate the car rider line. Shout. So while Des tell us, okay, Des is gonna tell me on IG. He says too much. It's too much for me to be typing up in here. Okay, no problem, sweetheart. But I'm just interested in knowing what y'all are what y'all protest. Okay, so the articles I was able to get the articles in the description box. So everything we're referencing should be, for the exception of this last article, I will update that. Should be in the description box. But the first article I want us to talk about today is really sort of in line with what we've been talking to you guys about the last few. Um, Thank you so much, Diamond Onyx. You are always here. You are always here, giving us that love. I appreciate that. This sort of goes in line with what we have been talking about the last few years, as it relates. I mean, the last few,
Yeah.
not the
Come
last
on.
few years, y'all.
You.
Last few shows, as it relates to this critical race theory situation. And so I'm gonna just read you guys this article. This one is actually some good news though. Oklahoma City School Board rejects a new anti-critical race theory law, says that it only exists to protect white fragility. So let's give a hearty hand clap to Oklahoma City right now. Last Friday, Oklahoma, there you go, hearty hand clap. Last Friday, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt signed into law a bill prohibiting critical race theory or any curriculum that might cause white students discomfort, guilt, anguish, or psychological distress from being taught in K 12 schools in the state. On Monday, the Oklahoma City Public School Board of Education unanimously denounced the new law and called it exactly what it is. And what I've been calling bills like this this is from theroot.com, guys. Have been pushing by Republicans across the country. They are white fragility bills. I'm gonna go back to that language. Hold on, let me turn my ringer off. Sorry, that's a group chat. That's the group chat talking about where we going to the football game, child. Okay. Um, let's go back to this description. Prohibit any curriculum that might cause white students discomfort, guilt, anguish, or psychological distress. Listen, the discomfort is the one that gets me. How about this? Be uncomfortable. You should be uncomfortable. You're not supposed to be comfortable. When we're talking about issues as it relates to how this country has treated minorities, nobody in the room should be comfortable. Nobody in the room should be comfortable. Moving on. I'm going to finish reading a little bit more of this. All 8 members of the board, oh, wait a minute. Sorry, the article jumped. All 8 members of the board took turns shouting down House Bill 1775. Board member Ruth Veals said that the legislation is aimed at silencing race-based discussions in order to protect white fragility. And it goes on from there. Again, y'all know I don't read the whole article. I read enough for you guys to understand what's going on. But it is in the description box if you want to click the link, and that is from theroot.com. What's up, crackhead Willie? How you doing, boo? So what's up? How you feeling, El Teddy, about this?
I am. It's bittersweet.
Yeah.
Because the bill has already been signed into law. And as much as the Oklahoma School Board, and that school district is 80% students of color, 80, not 18, 80, 80% students of color. So it goes without saying that you expect that their school board would vehemently denounce said law. But major school systems in any state have lobbyists and people at the Capitol building. I know this because I know many of those individuals who are the lobbyists that work at state Capitol buildings and so forth to fight for whatever school district or whatnot. So my point is this: as vehemently as they are denouncing this now, where were they when this thing was rising through the legislative branch? When it had to go through committee, when it had to make it to the floor of whichever, branch it went to first, and then go over to the other one, then had to be turned over to the governor's desk for him to sign. My point is, there should have been a groundswell of, denouncers and so forth leading up to this, because now that it's law, I don't know how much teeth they can put into them saying we vehemently denounce this.
And that's the sweet part. That's right.
This isn't like Biden and Cardona doing it. This is the state. And schools primarily are funded by the state-run entity. And the state delegates, and allows certain things to the districts within the state. But let's be clear: if and when a state governor and a state board of education or a state Department of Education says this is what's going to happen in our schools, that's what's going to happen. And so it looks good and it sounds good on paper, but when the rubber hits the pavement, they're not going to be teaching this stuff in the great state of Oklahoma. Not until the governor and the state board of education come up off that law that was signed. Now, I'm sure if they're smart, I shouldn't say I'm sure, but what a smart union is going to do, district or whatnot, you'll start to have lawyers in place to contest that in the courts, those laws in courts and so forth. That's your next route. But until it's usurped or put aside via the court, I don't know where. I think this is just a move for them. I wonder if they have elections coming up. That's what I'm wondering, because I feel like this is just a question to paint it as, hey, we were here, we ran against this. Because even in a district that's 80% people of color, I still would venture to get, even in those districts, you always have that one or two that dissent. I don't know. So it just doesn't pass the sniff test for me. I don't know. I want to be really happy about this, but I'm a pessimist at heart. I'm just saying.
I mean, I'm going to say this, and It is bittersweet, and I feel the same way you feel. I'm very leery and about. I mean, very leery about the authenticity of this. Is it really your pixels are off? You're not that clear. Are you having a bad reception?
I am.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks good on my. Does it look bad on YouTube too,
Um,
or is it you?
it may just be me then.
Hold on, let me look on the tube of you.
Um, yeah, well, we're gonna get to that crackhead Willie and quintessential. We're gonna get to what next year is gonna look like. We're gonna get to that, and El Teddy is gonna probably have to go back to his list from that we were looking at once they updated for next year, because we know that like we've been talking about, every state is different. Um, every state is different, and districts are different even within the states. He's gonna come out and come back in. But yeah, I feel the same way. I question the authenticity of this because, like I said, for those of you, thank you everybody who was here. But for those of you who've been here, you know that this is something that this is an attack that is going on around the country as it relates to our education curriculum and what it is they want and don't want us to teach about race in our schools, with our students, with our children. So you have to be very leery about what's going on in your state. We've talked about Mississippi, Florida, Texas. These are states where these laws have passed, and you have to be very leery about what's going on in your state as it relates to what your kids are being taught. Even if you don't have students in the school, remember, it's the next generation. And it's what they don't want us to know. It's what they don't want us to talk about. And you heard that language. We don't want white kids to feel guilty. We don't want, yeah, that's much better. That's much better. We don't want white kids to feel guilty. We don't want them to feel like uncomfortable. And like I said, I don't feel like anybody should be comfortable in the room when you're talking about race. I feel like if you're uncomfortable, then you're doing it wrong. And that's just how I feel about it.
Let me say this. America will burn this country to the ground before they allow white people to give up their white supremacy and their white privilege. So much so, if you watched the hearings yesterday on the Capitol, where the man said what happened would look like anything that you would see any other day. He said, if I showed you the video and didn't tell you it was January 6th, you would think that it was a regular day at the Capitol.
With tourists walking through the Capitol. Really?
He said, oh, they weren't doing anything wrong. They were peaceful people. They looked just like regular people. Completely.
The Trump supporters weren't the ones that were killed. It was the Trump. No, he said the Trump supporters weren't the one killing people. They were the ones that got killed. So the Trump supporters were the Capitol.
No. That was another representative.
I'm talking about the guy. What I'm saying is this is the stuff that was said. Oh, okay. I was just blending.
No. The picture that I'm painting for you is this: the fact that they have no problems teaching lies. And so my point is, if they've already started the lie,
yeah, I understand.
About January 6th,
right.
And we're not even 6 months outside of that. You know what I'm saying? Let it be told.
I got what you're saying.
We never had an insurrection in America. No.
Yeah, I got
now they will change anything. They will not allow themselves to not be seen as always doing the right thing, always being superior. And so that goes with the critical race theory, because here it is, we have to protect our poor little white babies from being uncomfortable. Oh no, they don't need to know their parents did this. They don't need to know their great-grandparents and great-great-great-grandparents did this. Oh no, you don't need to know that you're descendant of Jefferson Davis and the entirety of your family was responsible for, continuing to have slavery in these yet to be United States of America. So this is what we have going on. It's not even, I shouldn't even call it revisionist history anymore. They're just making up fiction now. It's not even history anymore. It's just fiction at this point. And that's what we have going on. They're teaching fiction. They've become English teachers now. You ain't gonna have a job in a little bit. Really be. You're just gonna be teaching literature and fiction, like me. You know what I'm saying? Because going on the days of true history, it's all fiction, all fiction. It's disgusting. And the problem is, and me and Really B talked about this earlier, and she was saying, I don't want people to feel like, we keep harping on this and we keep hammering this and we keep hammering this. But the thing about it is, we're going to be left with, if nobody is ringing the alarm, if nobody's screaming from the top, from the rooftop, nobody's foaming at the mouth with anger about this, we're going to end up in a country, and some of us are already in states where your kids are being fed lies, and the lie will be believed and the truth will not be believed. And now it's going to look like us as Black people, we're just talking in the wind and we're just screaming for no reason, and as if nobody ever did us wrong. In a minute, there's going to say you're not allowed to say that there was anything that racism at all. It's going to be, oh, Black people came here on their own, and that's all you're allowed to teach in school. That's what's coming. I'm sorry I had to have that rant, but it is coming, and I know there's a certain level of redundancy, but what they want us to get weary and well doing and not keep saying this so they can keep sliding it in under the rug. Okay, one state down, another state down, another state down, until it's all across the country and there's nothing we can do about it. And I'm sorry, let me drink my juice before I go down this road again. Sorry. I'm sorry. I had a moment.
Here's the thing. It's not that it's not important to talk about. That's, it's that I don't know. I guess I want to start seeing articles about where people are fighting back. Like, what are the unions doing? What are the Democrats? Like, I guess that's where I am with it, because I feel like we keep bringing y'all articles that it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to know, what's
that's something that we need to put on our list.
Maybe that's where my mindset is like, right. When are we going to start seeing the articles of people
and fighting? That's why I said one of the things we may need to put on our list is check into the unions. What are they doing? Because if you remember last time we were on, I was saying that us teachers have to get in this fight against it as well. So my other question is, what are the unions doing? How are they putting up a fight? And what are they saying in the respective areas? So that's something that maybe you and I can go and bring back the next time when we start to look at, hey, unions, y'all are having millions of dollars funneled into y'all through union dues. Where is the outrage about what's happening with this all over the country? Where's that outrage? And so, Randi Weingarten and all of the people, where are you at?
That's actually a good question. I know the president of the Washington Teachers Union, and Washington is under the AFT. I could probably have be able to have a conversation with her, but again, DC is in one of the school districts that's sort of under attack, so may not be at the top of her list. But I can ask if the AFT has made any formal statement or any stand, in any conversations that they may have had. So, I'm looking for
U.S. Department of Education on this too. Cardona and your people, where are y'all on this?
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I got a friend that works for the Department of Ed, but they don't work. I mean, the department they work in, but it may or may not trickle down. They don't work in that area of curriculum and things like that, but it still may trickle down. I'll ask. I'll reach out to some of my folks, some of my resources. I'll reach out. So there's that. Now, here's the thing. Let's transition a little bit into. We talked a little bit that we're at the end of the school year, which means that summer will be here before we know it, and that's gonna go by fast as hell because it always go by fast. And then we move into the fall. Now, the Department of Education, the AFT, which is the second largest teachers union in America. I know my governor, the governor of the state where I work, they are all pushing for schools to be open, locked and loaded, full regular school year. My district is working on creating a virtual version of elementary, middle, and high school for parents who still are not comfortable sending their kids back to school. But it will be a totally separate school. They're going to have separate teachers. They won't be enrolled in their neighborhood school. They will be enrolled in the virtual school, and that will be their school for the school year. I won't be responsible for those students. I'm only going to be responsible for the kids that are coming in the building. And so that's what they're working on. El Teddy was saying that when he was in Miami, they already had virtual school like that. So a lot of school districts may have already had something like that set up. I'm not sure. Again, we know that each state and district is doing something different. But what I do know is that the anticipation, short of anything major happening between now and August, the anticipation, the expectation is that we will be back in school at a regular, quote unquote, regular school year. Crackhead Willie, I think you asked, what is that going to look like? I don't have the full answer because we just don't, that we haven't
and we have to go back to what we said. And we have to go back to what we said at the beginning of the pandemic and last summer as we were going through school reopenings and everything. There's no one answer because there could be 50 different answers simply because, 50 plus, because you got to include the District of Columbia, because every school district or not a school district, but every state is sovereign in how they can run education and run schools in that particular state. Yes, there's a U.S. Department of Education and a Secretary of Education, but they do not get to dictate to schools how they operate. They can say, we're not going to give you federal dollars and put some teeth into that. That's how they, kind of try to get states to conform. But let's be clear, they can't do. It's similar to voting, where there's certain things they can and cannot do. Right. But in terms of the virtual school, the model, the point that I was making when I was talking to Really B is the model is out there and has been out there since well before COVID. They actually, in the state of Florida, and several other states I'm aware of, you get hired through Florida Virtual School. And it is not through, our school district. It's through the State Department of Education and the virtual school attached to the State Department of Education. You still have to have all of your certifications and everything. But the ones that I am aware of in the states that I'm aware of, the virtual school there is more so run like a college, in that you don't have every day face-to-face with the teacher and student. What happens is they get weekly lessons and assignments online. They go in, they pull up their curriculum, they go through the lessons or whatever, be it on a PowerPoint, be it on some other platform. They do have access to the teacher during certain hours where they can go. You can think of it almost as office hours, where that teacher is on call to assist students or whatnot from, let's say, 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, and they can assist students as needed. That's on their roster and so forth. So it's already in place. They do still have to do standardized testing, and generally what happens for those virtual school students is when standardized testing comes, they will have the students actually go into a school site, and just for the purpose of standardized testing, and they'll go in and take the test on site. Then once they're done, they'll go back to their virtual learning. Some states also do virtual learning for course recovery.
Yeah.
So they'll have they have it both where it could be your primary schooling or primary high school or middle school or elementary, or it could be for just you take a course, and that's going to be for course recovery. So that as well.
Yeah, I know that my school district, and specifically my school, because we've already started meetings. I'm a pseudo admin at my job. They kind of they're getting a 2-for-1 from me right now. But I'm the 9th grade coordinator, and I know that we have already started meetings because we are anticipating there are going to be a large number of repeaters. And so the big conversation that we're having right now is putting in place semester classes that will help kids do credit recovery during the school year, so that they can, by the end of next summer, they'll be in their proper cohort. Because, you know, like I know, El Teddy, that is part, I mean, that gets into a whole nother conversation with going back to Nickelby, No Child Left Behind, where being in your correct cohort is important. And for those who don't understand what I'm saying, that means if you're a part of the class of 2024 and you don't graduate in the class of 2024, that counts against the school. Even if that child went to something like a Job Corps or for whatever, like, whatever, it could not, but if they, for whatever reason, are retained or they don't graduate in their proper cohort, then it counts against the school. And so the big thing now is figuring out how to make sure that we can do whatever we need to do to make sure these kids get back in their proper cohort.
Here's the problem. Here's one of the major concerns. Even with the virtual school that you had prior to COVID, be it the one where they were full-time virtual or even when it's course recovery, most students do not do well in that environment because it's akin to freshmen in college. The reason that you have so much issues with freshmen in college is they're so used to having that being pushed by their parents to always get good grades, or having the teacher always on them to make sure you turn this in, turn this in, turn this in, turn this in. Whereas when you start to go to those other mechanisms, it's none of that. You have to be self-motivated and self-directed. And most people, given the opportunity where the reins are off and they have the freedom to do what they want to do, they're not going to do the right thing. I'm just being honest, especially when you're young. And, we all been there. We've all been young, and there's a lot of distractions and things out there, especially today. Your phone is a whole distraction into itself. So my point being that because you end up having it not being as fruitful for most students, but they're going to choose that option. What's happening is more students want that remote option, but that means that the learning curve is passing them and the education level is not where it should be. So when Really B is talking about trying to do things to get those students to that cohort and get with their right class, the problem comes that they're unable to meet the requirements and the standard that they need to meet in order to get there. I'm very afraid of what standardized testing is going to look like, for this school year and next school year. Because see, what's going to happen is that one of two things is going to happen as I begin to do my, data disaggregation pre-talk. What ends up happening is this: the state looks at the numbers and says, "Ooh, these numbers are low. Let us lower the bar." And so either that happens, or they do if they do really, really well, then they're going to push more kids into remote and so forth. And Really B and I have an article that was talking about the fact that now they pulled numbers, and most of the students that are learning remotely are minorities: Black, Hispanic, Asian, students with disabilities, and ESL. And those are the students, especially students with disability at ELL or ESL, they need it the most. They need in-person instruction a lot of times the most. And they're the ones who disproportionately are still either completely remote or mostly remote. And now I'm afraid that the gap, the racial divide within education is going to widen instead of close.
Yeah. You want me to go to that article? You want me to?
You can. You
okay.
can.
Let me read a little bit of that article that El Teddy is referencing. This is the one that I have to add to the link because when you sent it to me, I had already done it, but I'll add it to the link. And this article is coming from U.S. News. More schools reopen, but students of color still learning remotely. Improvements in the reopening landscape overshadow a stubborn racial gap in which more than half of students of color are still receiving a remote-only education. Nearly 90% of schools offered some type of in-person learning in March. Half were fully reopened, and the percentage of schools offering only virtual instruction was cut in half. Excuse me, y'all. But the significant improvements in the reopening landscape overshadow a stubborn racial gap in which more than half of the students of color are still receiving remote-only education compared to less than a quarter of their white peers. We are seeing higher percentage of students enrolled in full-time in-person learning, though they're... Okay, sorry, the article jumped. You know how they had these pop-up ads. I'm sorry. Learning through, I'll start over. We are seeing higher percentages of students enrolled in full-time in-person learning, though there are still gaps. While the number of students learning only through remote instruction is dropping overall, most Black, Hispanic, and Asian students are still not attending school in person at all. And that is from James Woodworth from the National Center for Education Statistics. The latest data on how students in 4th and 8th grades received education during March was collected by the Institute of Education Science and the National Center for Education Statistics. This was between April 14th and April 27th, more than 4,000 schools. The data being collected monthly through the remainder of the school year so that policymakers have a better understanding of which communities were hit the hardest by the pandemic and which students will need the most academic, social, and emotional support upon returning into the classroom. So they're allegedly collecting the data to figure out where there's going to be a greater need. The question is going to be what they do with that information. Anyway, that's another conversation. More than half of the students surveyed offer in-person instruction full-time, 5 days a week. Notably, only 12% of schools with a grade 4 and 11% of schools with a grade 8 offered remote-only instruction, down by roughly half. I'm trying to get through some of the data. So you guys,
I found, if you want me to, I found some good data toward the end. If you want me to,
yeah, because I'm trying to skim through because it's
one of the paragraphs. It says according to the March data collection, 31% of Black students, 30% of Hispanic students, and 15% of Asian students received full-time in-person instruction, compared to 51% of white students. And 49% of Black students, 50% of Hispanic students, and 67% of Asian students received remote-only instruction, compared to 21% of white students. Now, the next paragraph surprised me because this is your area, really. It says schools in cities were significantly less likely to be open full-time for all students than suburban or rural schools, and were also significantly more likely to be all remote. And you know, when they say schools in city, they talk about, the inner city. In Washington, D.C., for example, 87% of fourth grade students and 93% of 8th grade students were still entirely remote in March. And Washington, D.C. is a chocolate city. I mean, it's changed over the years, but it's still a vast majority Black. And so when you start to look at these numbers, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I just want to say this because once again, this is where data is important, but understanding getting the full picture of the data is also important. So the data is saying that, which is a fact. I mean, I can't take away from the data, but here's where we need to understand too. We have to look at which school districts were offering a full remote option versus how many were not, because DC hasn't gone back to a full-time 5-day-a-week schedule or even a 4-day-a-week schedule. For example, the high schools in DC's only going to school once a week in person in high school. So when you look at, I know that was 4th grade, but I'm just speaking from that. So
4th and 8th, yeah.
Right. So there are, so for example, in high school, DC was offering, in the beginning they were only offering math and English, and it was, I think it's twice a week. Let me say that. It's twice a week. So when you say, oh, well, only this percentage is doing this and this percentage is doing that, the question though is, are the school districts even offering more? And because if I'm a parent and you're telling me, well, my kid, we're going to do remote learning 2 days a week, I might as well keep my kid at home. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I understand.
And I'm not taking away. I'm not taking away the point that the article is making. But what I'm saying is, I think that we have
no. What I'm saying is the rationale. If I'm a parent, and the rationale is, well, I'm just not going to send my child to 2 days a week for nothing. Well, if in my estimation, it's education is worthwhile. Yes, please send them to school for those 2 days. And I think that there's a lot of things at play here, more so than just education. And so there's a lot of factors in it, especially when you start dealing with COVID. You can even get into the whole debate over to vaccine and not to vaccine. That probably plays a part in this. There are so many factors, and I think that, and I say this all of the time, and I learned this from my very first principal, and it changes how you look at your child's education. Depriving your child of quality education is like depriving your child of going to see the doctor on an annual basis or biannual basis. When you talk about the experts and practitioners in education, it is just as important when you talk about the doctors and medical practitioners that treat your child physically, because it could have just as much as of a lasting impression. And the point that I'm making is, I would venture to guess, if the doctor told you, and a lot of doctors did say, listen, I got COVID going on, I can't see you as much as I can, but I can only see you this amount of times, whereas normally I can see you that many times. I guarantee you somebody said, okay, I'm gonna go see you that one time, and then we'll try to work out the other, because they understand that it's important that I get in there, because the telehealth does not relieve the in-person. I need you to touch this spot and see how I feel. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel the same way with education. Remote learning has its place, but by and large, and we were talking about this earlier, many of our students, they cannot handle complete remote. And so I'd rather a little something than nothing at all.
No, I understand that. I'm not even arguing that point. I'm just saying that's what, because I'll speak for myself. My school has a population of 2,000 students. We've been back in school 4 days a week for a month. I personally have only had a total of 9 students. And I think we had more than 100 kids in the building.
And so that goes back to what is where I think in populations of color and households with children of color and students of color, where is the where's the fear, or what is the apprehension with sending the child back to the school? Because I'm telling you, if they're having those apprehensions now, I don't see that changing a whole lot between now and September.
I think a lot of people, I think it's twofold. And again, I'm only saying I think because I really haven't asked parents. Well, the parents that I know that aren't sending their kids back, at this point, they're like, it's the end of the school year. Like, I'm not doing all of this to send my kid back to school. It's the end of the school year. I'm not arguing. I'm just telling you what parents and what friends, parents have said to me. But I do think it's twofold. I think a lot of it is the timing, and I think a lot of it is they just don't feel safe. And again, I hear what you're saying, that what's going to change between now and in the fall. Maybe they feel like more people will be vaccinated in the fall. Maybe they. I can't
Well,
speak for
I
them.
know one thing that is going to change, and you can start to see that rolling across the country over the year. They've already done. I saw some art. I started to send it to you. I saw some articles on this. They've already removed mask mandates in certain
That's what
states.
actually. That's what I'm. That's what's going on. I was going to get to that. We're going to get to that.
And also, what that means is states are about to roll out. We're back to full swing school. If you're not sending your child to school, it's truant. Send the truant officer. That is what's going to start to happen. You are going to start to see truancy, because now I don't care how you feel about it. I don't care if your child is not signed up either for, and if you are signed up for virtual school, you have to be enrolled. That student has to be in those classes, and they have to do FTE, as we call it in Florida, FTE, or accountability, dates or whatever, just like in-person traditional school. So you will start to see, COVID restrictions and mandates on education lifted over the summer. So I think that will push more students into the school, because you have, you might go to jail, for truancy. So that could help in that fight. But I'm very concerned, and here in Teacher Project 2.0, we do concentrate on students of color and other minorities and so forth. So I am gravely concerned about the learning curve passing those students, because the numbers are alarming.
Well, I've been saying that from the beginning of this pandemic. I've said that. I've been consistent with that, and telling anybody who will listen, you guys as parents, guardians, whatever, you need to make sure that you are being proactive in your child's learning. Because what did I say at the beginning of this, El Teddy, which is what this article is sort of proving? I said, because they are going to make sure that their kids are getting what they need.
And you see the numbers say that. They say, oh no, we're going to school.
Exactly.
My kids will go to school.
That the numbers are reflecting this. Because even when the kids were home, we did a whole live on it. El Teddy did a whole step-by-step tutorial. And I uploaded a lot of resources as well, of places where you could not only, a lot of the places were free at the beginning of the pandemic, resources that you used to have to pay for that are now free because of the pandemic. And even when they started charging again, they still not back up to their regular fee. I know my sister has my nephew, he was supposed to start pre-K. He's been doing ABC Mouse. I told her, I said, listen, get him on ABC Mouse, get the free version, because, of course, there are tiers. He's been on ABC Mouse because he was supposed to start, and it doesn't sound like it's a big deal, but now he's going to be going to pre-K4, and guess what? He's going to be competing with kids who maybe, because the school was closed until recently, he didn't go back. He's going to go back in the fall, and he'll be in pre-K4. Whatever she's so you have to be proactive in that.
That's right.
And that your kids are getting it.
And also be proactive in understanding that a lot of the resources and stuff were not supposed to take the place of your child going to school and getting education, getting instruction from the experts. And so I'm very concerned about it, because the numbers are saying those white people, they sending their child to school.
They are.
They like, nope. You let them over there do what they got to do, baby. We going to school.
Absolutely.
Period.
Very good. Keep it cute. Said my children went back to school. My kindergartner is getting summer tutoring too, since she was cheated out of a full year. Absolutely. And listen, let me tell y'all something. There are going to be so many resources, free and cheap. If you can find the money to send your kids to Disney World, if you can find the money to send your kids to Six Flags, if you can find and I'm not judging nobody as a parent, because I know we still want our kids to have fun. I get that. It's the summertime and we still want them to have fun. But let's be clear. They done had almost a whole school year of summer.
Pretty much.
Let's just be honest about it. Let's just be honest. I know my school district is offering summer school full time. They begging for teachers now, and it's going to be, so find the resources. I mean, we don't went left, but find the resources, you guys, because at the end of the day, your children have pretty much lost a year of school. It has, no matter what instruction, I'm telling you as a teacher who's been doing it all year. I've been busting my butt and I've been teaching my kids, but I'm telling you, it's still not the equivalent of what they would have gotten going to school every day for a full class period with in the building. It's not. We weren't even getting the same amount of hours, because instead of your kid, I speak for myself. Instead of me having one class every other day, because we were on an A-Day, B-Day schedule, they broke it up. And so I got A-Day, B-Day, but those kids only came to U.S. history once instead of maybe twice or 3 times a week. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Yeah. Anyway, so moving on. I don't want to we've said it, and we'll continue to say it because we want y'all to understand it. And new people hear it every time we say it. So we're going to continue to say it. But I want to move into going, it's sort of staying in the same realm. The reality is too, Pfizer has now been approved to give kids as young as 12 the vaccine. How do you feel about that, sir?
I think it's a step in the right direction. I don't have a problem with it. The problem comes when we're talking about our people. We still got these conspiracy theorist people and these people who are like, "Oh, don't take the vaccine. Oh, it's go." And I quickly see us getting to a point where it might be at least for middle school and up, because 12 is around 7th grade, and in a lot of states 7th grade is when they're required to have that second inoculation or booster or whatever for whatever vaccine they already have. I can see them saying, "Hey, boo, you need to get your child vaccinated. It's going to be a part of the vaccines that you have to enroll your child in school." I can see that happening. Now, where's going to be the pushback? Because then now you're talking about truancy. Now you're talking about or having your child do virtual, which means that you have to be ready to permanently, depending on the age of your child, have somebody at home with childcare. And jobs are about to open back up and say, y'all need to roll back in this good building that we paying all this, that we leasing or paying taxes on or paying whatever on this building. So it's I think it's let me say, I like the idea of them getting vaccinated. I hope it opens up to more of vaccines like Moderna and Johnson & Johnson, that people do that, because the Pfizer is very difficult to find sometimes, simply because they need special types of freezers in order to house that, and that's just not a lot of places don't have those types of freezers. But when you start talking about Moderna or Johnson & Johnson, you can go to your pharmacist or CVS or Walgreens or Publix, or some supermarkets have pharmacies where you can go and get it done there, or other places. Like I know some places have tents where they have, it's set up and everything in tents in a big, I know at Miami-Dade Community College, they have a huge parking lot. They have it in the stadium. And so I hope it opens up to other of the other vaccines, not just Pfizer. But I'm here for it. I think it is needed to protect not just the other students, but definitely the faculty and staff, who is probably most at risk. And then when you start to talk about variants that are even more, they said that some of the variants are even are just as deadly to kids as it is to adults. So.
Well,
oh, and to add to that, especially with them taking off these masks.
That's what see, you keep that's why I was just getting ready to.
That was my segue. That was
the segue. Okay, well, that was the segue into the mask situation. I just got this information. I'm gonna read it here. That I'm not gonna put any names on it, but I'm gonna read it here. Excuse me, because I'm blind, so the writing is small. This is an official statement regarding Day of protest for South Carolina educators. Okay. Governor McMaster's executive order prohibiting mask ordinances and Superintendent Spearman's decision to end the statewide school mask directive are the last in a long line of abuses against school staff by our state leaders. Now, I'm going to read you a couple of things on here. Formal evaluations of school staff during a global pandemic. The governor's repeated attempts to pit the interests of public school staff against those of senior citizens and others. Legislature's unnecessary freezing of teacher salary. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to the PPE stuff. The unconstitutional attempt by the governor to send millions of dollars in public funds to private schools, funds which could have been used for proper PPE. The requirements that teachers without adequate preparation teach in person and virtually at the same time. Delayed access for teachers and school staff to PPE along with inadequate PPE. The lack of support for student and mental health. The loss of almost 7,000 of our colleagues to attrition this school year, making classrooms even more unsafe and making the job even more difficult. So this is an official statement. There's a day of protest on Monday in South. Is it Monday? Wait a minute. Yeah, Monday, May 17th for South Carolina educators. And that was just the official statement with the list of why they are doing this. But this is triggered. The last straw, they said, was the fact that the governor and the superintendent is getting away from the mandate mask. And like El Teddy was saying, it's not just South Carolina. This is something that is spreading across the country. Listen, this is how I feel about the whole situation. I think we're moving too fast. I just think we're moving too fast. I think that, yes, people are getting vaccinated. Yes, it is helping a lot. Yes, the numbers are looking good. But I say this, let's look at other countries that sort of moved really quickly and went too fast too soon, and they ended up right back where they started, back in mandatory lockdown, back in mandatory what's the word I'm looking for?
Quarantines.
Thank you. That's the word. Back in quarantine because we went too fast. I don't understand the problem with us. I know that it's uncomfortable. I know that it's a lot. But I don't understand the rush to say, take the mask off. I just think it's too much. I'm not saying that I don't want to get to a point where we don't have to wear our mask, and I get it, but I just think it's too much. I don't know. It's just we're just moving too fast, too soon for me. I may sound like the old man on the get off my lawn, old man, but I just think
I am get off my lawn guy. I am absolutely get the hell off my goddamn lawn.
Yeah, I just think it's too much, too fast, too soon. I don't know. What do you think, El Teddy?
I definitely think
wait a minute. And this is happening in the middle of state testing. Really? Wow. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to add that.
I definitely think that eliminating the mask requirement is way ahead of schedule. First of all, they're just now rolling out Pfizer for 12 to 15. Now, if you want to do that with in the fall, I might go along with you. And that would be hoping, and I could be wishing on a star, but these same school districts would be offering vaccines. Like I just read in my former district, I pulled this up today. They're offering, now that Pfizer is available for 12 to 15, they already have 3 schools in the district set up for anybody that is enrolled in Miami-Dade County Public School as a student, or the faculty can go there and get the vaccines, and those will be permanently set up throughout the summer, saying come in the north, in the central area, and in the south area, so it's everybody can have a place that's close to them that they can get that either through public transportation or however they choose to get there. But things like that where they're offering, saying, hey, don't say we didn't give you the chance. We're making it available. We're putting shots in people. Now, if you do that and you handle it the right way, and then I say you got all summer to give them a time period. Hey, y'all got all summer. Y'all know August is coming. You know September is coming. Get your child vaccinated. If they do that, then I could see them saying, we 100% back in the school in the fall. We got masks off. Let's get it. But until they do that, it is too early, and it is going to be that's negligence by the people that are elected. But who am I? Who am I?
Quintessential said that in Chicago, vaccinated people won't count towards capacity limits for Chicago's bars and restaurants, and she's wondering if that's going to be similar for the schools. Again, a lot of times, and I can only speak for my experience, and El Teddy may feel differently. A lot of times, they are flying this plane while they're building it. So I don't think they even know what that's going to look like in the fall. They just know they want us back in school full time. I don't think they've had any real site and logistics conversations. Hey, Royalty King Forever. Mwah. I don't think they've had any serious site and logistics meetings to really hammer out what that's going to look like. That's just my opinion. But that is interesting. I mean, she said off topic. It's not really off topic, but that is interesting that they're going to be looking at that. And that's it. See, that's going to be the question, because, now we're going to be getting into a whole counterfeit vaccine card system. It's a mess. Now I want to go left there. I want to say this, though. We're getting ready to wrap this up. As always, we get to talking and realize, oh my goodness, an hour has already passed by. I love that you guys come here.
It's my fault. I had that rant earlier about critical race day. I'm sorry. I had a whole rant and meltdown.
No. We're fine. We're not over our time. We're absolutely good. We say we want to get an hour, get in, give y'all the good information without beating you over the head with it, and get out. So it's been almost an hour. Thank you so much, Quintessential. You are always one of our biggest supporters. You are always sharing the link and retweeting and all that good stuff. And I thank you so much. If this is your first time here or you're catching us in the replay, go on and hit that subscribe button. It's free 99. Go on, hit that notification so that you know when we're going to go live. And I appreciate all of you guys for being here and all of your input. I always forget to put the banner up. I'm sorry. If you are listening to this podcast on iTunes or Google Play, you can always reach out to us. Our email is theteacherproject2.0@gmail.com. And you can find us on Instagram at the_teacher_project_2.0. So let us know you're there. Ask any questions. And if we don't know the answer, we'll look it up. We don't have no problem with that. We're going to find some information for you guys. But I appreciate you guys being here. And I'm going to be quiet and let El Teddy get maybe the last word. I try.
Go ahead, get your last words in, ma'am.
I was going to say what I think you're going to probably say, but we can say it twice. In 30 minutes, El Teddy will be back on his channel.
I definitely wasn't going to say that.
Okay, well, he'll be on his channel with a Run Your Mouth with Ty. So go on and get you some drink, go on to the ladies' room, do what you got to do, and meet us back over on El Teddy's channel. And Lord knows what he's going to talk about over there. But go ahead, I'm done.
Right, Lord knows that I don't even know yet. But you'll have fun regardless. Really be an idea to talk about as we get into the summer and we get into the fact that she mentioned it earlier about their teacher shortages all over the place, which means that there will be people entering the education world and the education field. We are going to start to have little segments dedicated toward that to just help out with the process. I would love for Des to be involved with that, and some of the people who may have come into education more recently than we have, because we've been in it for a long time. So some processes in terms of the entering process may have changed, but a lot of the process for how to make it as a first-year teacher and things like that, and how to prep to get ready for, having your first classroom and things like that, we certainly can assist with. So we'll be reaching out to Des and Proverbial One and those other educators. I think Chris Spees is an educator, right?
Yes.
And some of our other educators who are in here with us, so that we can get y'all to come on screen sometimes with us and let us know as well some of your pointers or look for us. I am not coming off the gate, and I'm not coming off the gas with regard to critical race theory. Y'all do not have to worry about that. Really, because I listen, I will be foaming at the mouth and screaming from the mountaintop for as long as I need to, because it's worthwhile and it is important for to do that. So I definitely am going to start to reach out to some of my union friends. A friend of mine is head of NEA
And
for
like
the
I said,
state.
I'm gonna reach out to some of my people.
But yeah, that's all I got. Until next time.
Bye.